Hey TNA fan, we're back here again at the impzonepod podcast, here to talk, obviously, no surrender results. I don't know. It was a very interesting end to the show, I think, as well. You know, I obviously will get there, but I do want to say that it was a very interesting finish to the show here, because it really felt like, what the heck, man, in some ways. But it's like, what would I say? I would say, like, this is what I was, what are you trying to deliver? Why? The idea that fans are, quote-unquote, buying into, so to speak, is either Nick Nemeth or Eddie Edwards or both, or even maybe Leon, are going to cash in. So, like, that should have been, like, the hook. Like, you know, eventually, one of these guys is cashing in, that's it, whatever it is. And then somehow, some way, shenanigans from there, whatever, make the match, whatever, you know, resulting for whoever or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, in some ways. They actually, I want to say this before we get too far going into discussing tonight's event, that they did announce recently the Rebellion upcoming pay-per-view, so that has been announced. Very interesting that there's no real, like, TV tapings very near it, so they must have some stuff in the can, or hopefully they're going to announce some more dates here and there, unless they're, like, going on hiatus again for, like, a couple of weeks or whatever it is, which just does not do very well, honestly. Although the 14th is, I guess that will be a live one then, I guess. Yeah, that'll probably be live then, actually. So yeah, that'll be the taping for that, I suppose. But anyway, let's go from the bottom of the card, including the pre-show, to the top. Now, there's some very interesting stuff later on, but I think they just announced, like, a couple of the pre-show matches literally just after I recorded the last episode or whatever it was. So, like, this is what happens all the time, and like I say, this is why I don't do news and things like that, because it's like, anytime that you do anything, it's like, oh, immediately, like, after you've done something, here comes out something else, like, and it's just like, man, I don't have the time for this, you know, like, so, and, like, again, when usually, 9 times out of 10, when you have matches like these, like, X wrestler versus unknown, effectively, whoever X wrestler is winning, because, again, that's your star, that's your wrestler that you've had on your roster, have been here or there. And actually, I didn't realize, I didn't think about this, but a lot of talent have actually been not able to come into TNA due to the visa issues and whatnot and all of that sort of stuff. So that was the main reason why we didn't see a few of these guys. It wasn't just because they, they weren't using them or weren't interested or whatever. That's perhaps, I didn't really think about, like, some of the wrestlers being unable to appear. Alright, but anyway, first one was Sinner and Saint in a singles singles tag team match against a couple of new, younger talent, TW3 and Bad Attitude. So obviously, Sinner and Saint won this one. Just a very okay match here. I haven't got much to say about it, but it is kind of nice to see Sinner and Saint back, and it's kind of nice to see some other younger people kind of in there, and maybe some of these guys will be signed or do some stuff or whatever else it'll be, hopefully, because they need some more performers on a weekly basis, monthly basis. But anyway, Gia Miller is backstage with her trainer, Mike Johnson, and they're interrupted by Steph DeLander and Mace Warner. And they want to have a match with or they arranged to have a match with Mike Johnson, or what Mance Warner does. So yeah, that'll be later on tonight. Apparently, I think this was probably added because like they didn't quite have enough matches, or they didn't quite have enough things going on the show, and another like okay-ish thing on the match, I guess, like just to fill it out and give extra few minutes to the show, rather than some dead time was the thing. Alan Angels returned. I don't know whether this is going to be more long-term or what, but like I do hope so, because they did some stuff with him here. He was going to have a match against Ryan Nemeth, and I assumed that, well, Ryan Nemeth's going to win, but then Frankie Kazarian came in and interrupted them before they really got going and wanted to have a King's speech, but that broke down in a few minutes, and Alan Angels said, hey, I'll challenge you, King, and I'll try to take your crown, and all of this. So then the match was on between Kazarian and Angels, and Kazarian beat up Angels there and sent him packing. Unfortunately, he couldn't win in his return match here tonight. So it's interesting in that regard, because it's like, now what are you going to do with him? Like, I do hope that you're not going to just forget about him and he's just going to be there or whatever else it is and all of that sort of stuff. But, yeah. I do want to see more from him down the road. But anyway. Ariana Grace and Stax are confident going into No Surrender as and becoming the new power couple in wrestling. Have a lot to talk about that later on. A new match was made official. Mance Warner will face off against Mike Jackson. So we'll see that later on. The Knockouts Battle Royal kicks off the official show. So the winner receiving a TNA Knockout title match. Like, it was actually pretty short, honestly. It felt fairly short, honestly. We had 10 females in here. Mara Sade, Tessa Blanchard, Mila Moore, Victoria Crawford, Enya Black, Rosemary, Jada Stone, Myla Grace, Jody Threat, Harley Hudson, and Tasha Steelz. The final, I think, 4 was, I think it was, because, like, I think, Enya and somebody else, and, what's her name, Sade, were eliminated basically at the same time, as well, or I think. Oh, no, it was just, they were the final 4. Yeah, so, yeah, Sade, Enya, and Jody, and, Tessa were the final 4. Yeah, and, then, both of them got eliminated, or both Enya and Sade got eliminated. And then Tessa had thought she'd won the match, and was standing in the ring, like, celebrating as if she'd won, because she thought everyone had been eliminated, because it seemed like Jody Threat had been eliminated, but her feet hadn't touched the floor. She was still holding on just with her feet underneath the ropes, and then she came up behind her and was able to eliminate Blanchard, giving Jody Threat the win here tonight, so giving her a chance at the Knockouts title. So immediately after that, I felt like, wow, well, like, I can almost predict, like, the Knockouts match, and I flip-flopped on that, and I'll talk about a bit more about that later on, but, like, I did flip-flop on my thoughts on it. But yeah, this made me feel like, oh, well, now you feel like, well, this has got to be changing of the guard things, or they're going to do something different than what, you expected. But anyway, yeah, it was all right stuff here, I think, especially just to start the show, these Battle Royal, like, I think, like, the interesting thing of Battle Royals sometimes is to see, like, who's next or whatever, do the whole countdown and whatnot. But I assume they just didn't have time to do it, so they just had, like, all the girls come in together and start the match together combined. So yeah, but yeah, we'll get to see more of this develop later on. Hopefully, I did say before as well. I felt like if you're sitting there and feeling like, oh man, I'd like to see Danny get that belt, and like I said, like then Jody and Danny like do that. Anyway, but we'll wait and see. Gia Miller is backstage with TNA World Champion Mike Santana and X Division Leon Slater. Slater is stoked to be back for the first time for a match tonight in, I think it's about a month, due to the visa issues. Mike Santana is confident he can defend the title, and Leon is backing him up, saying, "Hey, I won't use this on you," basically. Jelly Roll. I don't know who the fuck Jelly Roll really is. Like, I kind of know he's a singer, he's a rapper or whatever. I don't know much about him. I haven't really heard of any of his songs or anything. But apparently he's in the front row. So yeah, whatever. A little bit of the thing there. Trey Miguel versus Stax for the International Championship. Like, I want to say, though, with this match, there were a few botches. Now, I'm not going to deduct, like, my thinking of this match to an extent with those botches or whatever. I think, like, it's when people really hurt somebody or whatever, that sort of thing, whatever, or those sorts of things that really mess up a botch. Like, in some ways, you can always argue it away and say, well, it's somewhat realistic, like, it makes it more real and makes it more or less of just spots happening or whatever else it is, in a sense, and it makes it more of a fight, not just we're going to do these set things or whatever else it is. Like, again, maybe you might go back and say, oh, well, just give me a neck breaker now, or just do this now, or just do that now, or whatever else it is. This was effectively the spot, whatever, that we wanted to get to, but we couldn't do it because of a small botch. And it's hard to do these things. That's the thing. People don't realize how hard it is to do some of these things. It requires a whole lot of balance and effort to do a lot of these things. So botches can happen at any time with anyone. So I don't want to take anything away from this match by the botches, but there were a few, unfortunately, in this match. But in some ways, I actually think that it was, I think it was mostly Stax that botch did this. So, though I think the first botch, well, I don't know whether it was completely a botch, I don't know, but like, I think it was, maybe it was at least, that he made wasn't too bad, and I don't think like it took too much away from anything, but the following botches started to feel like, oh, whoa, what's going on? Like, maybe you need to slow down and just calm down here and actually get your moves like hitting right and all of that. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was like the ropes were slippery, or I don't know, just things didn't work out, the timing, whatever. All these things can make it worse or whatever, or make it more difficult to do the move. So, but yeah, definitely all right stuff here as well. And super surprising end. I did not see the end of this match coming, because I was sitting here and being like, oh yes, I think Stax is winning. I think Stax is winning the whole time. And I'm like, okay, Miguel seems to be like taking over, and like I'm thinking, oh, this is just a big comeback or whatever else it is, whatever. Stax will get like the other hand somehow, and then it's like Ariana's out, and then it's like, oh, okay, right, cool, and then Miguel's really taking over, and now it's like, okay, how's Stax going to win this match, man? Like, it starts becoming like I started being like, oh, okay, Stax, come on, show your stuff. Like, even if he's botched a few times here and there, like, obviously now it's like do or die time or whatever, you know, in a sense. Like, he has to try to put it away without Ariana being there. And I also think, like, some of the stuff that happened in this match with Ariana, like, sort of preluded to her match later, certainly as well, like, because she was getting involved and stuff like that. So, yeah, really preluded to that. But at some point, Miguel was able to reverse Stacks and then finally pin Stacks and win the International Championship. And I was like, holy heck, bro, what the hell? I was so surprised to see Trey, and I was like, he was crying his eyes out. He had, who was it he had somebody coming out with him. Where is it? No, it doesn't say it there. Doesn't say it there. No, it doesn't say. He had another rapper or whatever with him come out, but I can't remember who it was coming out with him. And I can't find where it says it here. So yeah, whatever. But yeah, Trey gets the win. We get the Bioflex injury report. Eddie Edwards has broken nose, but is cleared. Mike Santana is experiencing back issues, but is cleared. Jess Hardy dealing with multiple injuries, but is cleared. Jada Stone, after being attacked by Order 4, which she was in the Battle Royal, but she was attacked also after the Battle Royal, is in evaluation. Then we're about to see Mace Warner versus Mike Jackson. AJ Francis comes out and says that he's going to be on commentary. So then we have Mike versus Mance. Mike putting up a pretty good fight in some ways, but it's clear that Mance is really, like, you know, giving him or letting him, like, do a lot of this stuff. And that's like the difficulty of the art of wrestling sometimes, when you have somebody that you've got to sell for, kind of thing, and it's just like very or somewhat unbelievable, or in this case very unbelievable. It's like, well, that's what I've got to do, or I'm trying to give him a chance to show off, and later on, you know, it'll come down to things. But Warner finally gets a little bit more serious and is able to beat Mike. After the match, surprisingly, and this is another surprise, that he extends the hand to Johnson in a sign of respect. So does Steph DeLander. They both shake his hand and raise his hands after the match. What the hell is going on here? And then, afterwards, AJ Francis is trying to have a run-in effectively with Mance Warner, and looks like they're gonna feud together. And I was like, dude, like, you're not done with Rich Swann, the whole Rich Swann thing. So, like, why are we moving this thing along to something else? And, like, why are you turning Mance babyface? Like, what? I just don't see him as a great babyface. So maybe I can be wrong. I don't know. Wait and see, I guess. But it's yeah. Anyway, backstage, Ariana Grace is distraught that Stacks was unable to retain the International Championship. She demands that he apologizes, and it says if anything else goes wrong tonight, she'll break up with him just before Valentine's Day. So, yeah. We'll see more of that later on. Here comes the Knockouts Tag Team title match. honestly, I was very distracted in this match and wasn't really paying attention because I felt very much like I know, you know, that Zaya and Andy aren't winning this match. So I was like pretty tuned out throughout this match. It was fairly okay, fairly good, honestly, but like I was just tuned out. Like I had no stakes in this at all, and this is a match that I feel like I don't know. It like maybe it should have been on the pre-show. I don't know. It's tough to say, or something else, somewhere else on the card to sort of maybe break up some other big time matches. But you just had another like joke match here with Mace and Mike, so it's like having another piss break match is just a recipe for kind of like disaster in some ways. But like the crowd, like I want to say as well, the crowd the whole night for the most part were really good, and there was a pretty big crowd, honestly, and I think it was basically close to being sold out, so that's really good. But in this one, I think that they were actually pretty receptive, maybe because they really liked the wrestlers more or less in the match more so. So there wasn't, like, there might have been some highlights absolutely in this match, but I was really tuned out to this match, which sucks for the girls who are trying their hardest with what they're given. So that's what I mean. It's like the girls were trying their hardest with what they were given, and they were putting on some good stuff and doing some good stuff here and there and whatnot. But like, there was just no investment because it's like, well, this was put together yesterday. And this team was put together yesterday, and they haven't had a match. So it's like, okay, they ain't winning, or if they are winning, it's such a like out of the box thing. But either way, Heather and M by Elegance pull out the win, and the Elegance Brands retains. But post-match, wow, what a return by Mickie James to confront Ash by Elegance, because apparently like there's been some hoo-ha and hoo-ahing and on whatnot on the internets there, on mostly on Twitter and whatnot, with Ash, you know, calling out some of the legends and whatnot. I think it was like, I can't remember who was saying, like, you know, they didn't agree with the way she did things or whatever else it was. I don't think it was actually Mickie, but maybe Mickie was in amongst that. I don't really know. But yeah, like, eventually after a little bit of a scuffle there with Mickie, Ash and the Elegance Brand were able to escape. Surprised to see Mickie James back. Cool to see her back, but like, my thing does become like, well, I almost felt like, isn't she with WWE? Like, what's going on? Like, I thought like maybe she isn't. I don't know, or I don't know, honestly. But nice to see her back in some ways. But certainly she's a Hall of Famer now, and like, I don't ever want to say that she is retired in a sense, but I feel like she knows like this is probably one of the last like big time runs that she could have. You know, like, and maybe that's the reason why she's here. It's like, well, WWE don't want to do nothing with me, or what they want to do with me just is like, you know, like meh or pretty bad or whatever, all that stuff. So like, you know, I'm just not interested in it or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, maybe TNA had something, or maybe she was still like a free agent. I don't know. Or maybe like whatever WWE offered was like, you know, I don't know, not as good. I don't know. We'll never know. Maybe we'll know one day, but I don't know, certainly. But yeah, nice to see her, and I don't know. It's tough because it's like you start asking yourself like, what's she gonna be there for in a sense? Because like, realistically, it's like one of those things of saying, what does she need to be the star for? She doesn't need to be the star, but she needs to, like, they need her to be there to be like, she's a big time star and we're gonna utilize her to help build up some of these other women. And like this first feud with Ash, like seemingly, hopefully Ash gets the dub there and goes on to do other things later down the road or whatever. But yeah, next up is BDE versus Eric Young. What a match by BDE. What a showing. I think it said like his 27th match, something like that. Amazing for a guy that's, I think they said he's been training off and on for like years and whatnot. Which is crazy. Like, you've only had like a couple of matches in the last like 5 to 10 years or whatever. Like, a handful of matches or whatever it's been. And in the last like year or so or whatever, maybe the last 2 years or so, I don't know. I don't know how long he's actually been wrestling for. I think they did say, but at some point before. But like, yeah, it's insane to me to hear that he hasn't really been like out there all that much. So it's like, yeah, good for him to try to, or to have, a very quality match here with EY. And to, with EY, again, it's like, he doesn't pull out this level of match very much more in this sort of stage of his career. So, cool to see, them have a really good match here. I'm also, like I said before, I start to wonder where this is leading, or if this is leading anywhere with EY. I feel like I said this before, and I was thinking about it, and I think maybe we discussed it, but I said EY got the X Division Call Your Shot, or Feast or Fired. So his goal, I think, or his path right now is to try to win the X Division title with that, and then try to call for option C. I think that would be really interesting in some ways, but again, it's like, well, I don't know, you sort of feel like, I don't know, it's a bit overdone, or whatever, in a way. It's like, you've already got all these other guys, yes, like, that's what makes it interesting in some ways. It's like, but like, I feel like maybe you should focus in on just maybe the couple of people that are there. So I don't know. But again, I do feel like realistically you could give EY a world title shot without very much effort. Same with Edwards and same with Nemeth. They're like over guys and have been fixtures in main events for a long time. So it's like, I don't think that they really need that sort of thing. But EY gets the win here in a pretty decent match against BDE. One of the most impressive things that I saw was the cutter that BDE did. Like, he went more than halfway across the ring here with that cutter, man. So, that was a long dive to get that cutter, man. That was pretty good. And I think his gear was pretty good. I think it was like Spider-Man, Spider-Verse inspired. But yeah, a couple cool things there to talk about BDE, and having this good match here, and then pulling out the Canadian Destroyer as well. That was pretty cool as well, especially on somebody who has a lot of history, so to speak, with that move. In Team Canada. But yeah, Young gets the win here. Back in the locker room, Jody Threat is celebrating her victory. Tessa Blanchard fronts up to her and says, hey, you wouldn't have beaten me if it was a proper one-on-one match or whatever. So next week we're going to get to see Tessa versus Jody in a one-on-one match. I do feel like, I said this before, and like, it's been this way, or seemingly been this way, in a sense, for a while. But you're probably not going to pull the trigger. I feel like you're definitely not going to pull the trigger on Tessa anytime. And I feel like their perspective is, she is here to help us for now to help build some of these other wrestlers like Mila and Jody and some of the other people or whatever. But yeah, like that is what she's here for. So again, that's fine. But like, I don't know whether I'm 100%. I'm not a psychic, but yeah, we'll wait and see. All right, Ariana Grace versus Lei Ying Lee. I was extremely, and I want to really preface this and say how good this match was before I talk about like the ending and the results and whatnot, because I have to tell you how good this match was. Absolutely, and it wasn't the greatest match of all time. No, it wasn't. But that's not the point. If you went into this and you were like thinking about how good this match would be, you would think that this is going to be a piss break match, or this is going to be a very like short match, or it's not going to be much of anything, or whatever. Ariana hasn't really had that. I don't think she's had that many matches. I don't know. I think she maybe had like 50 or something matches, something like that. And her win-loss record is like really bad. She's only won like a handful, maybe a couple of handfuls of matches or something like that in comparison to how many losses she's had. So again, like, and like, when was it that she faced Tessa? I can't remember the pay-per-view that she faced Tessa at. But yeah, like that wasn't bad, but it wasn't like amazing. And I won't say that this one was amazing, but this one was way better. Way better. Amazing stuff here by her in this match. She actually kind of proved herself to be a competent wrestler in this match. Not the most competent wrestler in this match, but again, like surprisingly good, surprisingly decent, surprisingly solid in this match. Like, again, people who, I know that there were a few people who were like, oh man, she, like, this is going to be a stinker or whatever else it was. Nope, this one wasn't like the best. Like, this didn't get this is awesome chance, or this is amazing, or this is great chance, or anything like that. Or it wasn't a, like, even really a 4-star match, but it was a match that was probably 3.5 stars, maybe. But you probably would have expected it to be 1, maybe, or maybe a 0.5 star, or maybe 2 stars at the most, like, or maybe 1.5 stars at the most, something like that. That's what I think people were expecting from this. Not a whole lot of anything, but it was surprisingly decently solid and quite good. So yeah, that's the thing that I want to get over before talking about like the result here, because like that's a success in of itself. Now, as I said before, I flip-flopped completely on thinking who would win this match, because I realized, wait a minute, for this, the only real story that we've kind of had for a little while has been Ariana and whatnot, and this whole thing with the whole NXT thing. So, and Lee hasn't really been involved in any of that, and like, you haven't really had a whole lot of involvement from other performers in that main event sort of scene, or in the story of the main event. Like, people have said, I will call my shot, or I will get there, or whatever else it was. But like, when you're actually fronting to the management or the GM or whatever else it is, and actually, you know, in that story and actually moving things along, it actually means that you're the focus, and you're becoming the focus. Now, initially I felt like, you know, Ariana's not going to win this thing, because I felt like, well, like, she's not the one. I hate to say that it's another NXT person winning a TNA title in some ways, but this is the storyline. You know what I mean? This has been the storyline for a while, and now we're starting to see development in it, because Ariana, somehow, some way, in this match, she won in this match. Well, not just in some way and somehow. But she won in this match, which was very surprising for a lot of people, I think. Now, I will say that I'm not the hugest fan of them putting the belt back on another NXT person as well, but this is, like, if this lasts, which I hope that it does, if this lasts more than a couple months, if this lasts 6 months, 8 months, or whatever, and culminates at Slammiversary or Bound for Glory or something like that, with somebody winning that belt properly, and I don't love that they hot potatoed it off Lee, but I was so goddamn sick of the way that they were treating the belt. At least, like, now if you have it on Ariana, I feel like now you have her on that pedestal. Now you have her in that position of being the champion and the one needing to be beaten by the locker room. Now at least there's a good story for people to go up against the champion. There's not just like, the champion is here and you should want the belt. Like, that's cool, that's great, but you need more than that. You need more of a reason, like, why are the heels, like, going after this person or whatever? Or why are the baby faces, obviously the baby faces are going after a heel, but it's like, again, why? Because they're the outsider. Because they're something else. Like, there's a bigger reason often to say, why this is. I wasn't surprised in some ways that Dani Luna came back during this match because, like, again, I felt like that would happen. But it is nice to see her. So, and I'm kind of like scratching my head in some ways to think, like, what are you going to do with her for now, for 6 months, for 8 months, or for whatever it is? Because I was, like, so far behind Dani Luna before. But now it's going to be like, she's going to have to wait 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is, to get that belt. Maybe you could try to turn her babyface. I said that before, but, like, she can't just be Miss Nice Girl. And again, you need more, like, good baby faces now for Ariana to go up against, because she is going to be the heel no matter what, even if she doesn't want to be, or even if she tries not to be, people will boo her. But yeah, this was an amazing match. And I'm not 100% behind the whole this is a nepotism angle type thing, obviously, in a sense, but that's like what makes it interesting in some ways, because they're trying to challenge that and trying to say, hey, we did a nepotism angle because, we want to say, hey, how bad nepotism angles are and whatnot, not just, hey, whatever, it's an angle, But yeah, like, amazing stuff here. I want to put that out there as much as possible, because I want to give Ariana her flowers. She was, like, doing a really good job here in this match. And it is a little bit, like, obviously, like, again, where it's like, oh, man, maybe she hasn't got the experience or anything. That's the thing, but this is how you build it. You have to start somewhere. You have to say, okay, and the thing is, again, you want to have people chasing that championship, and especially like a hero, and this gives, like, Indy Hartwell another opportunity to really go for that title, or a bunch of other people another chance, like Jody and some other people, to go for that title. So again, and it makes it more interesting. So I just think it's a good idea. I was laughing at one moment, thinking, like, when I saw some of the promos and Ariana stole the Cobra from Santino, and was like, thinking, well, obviously she's going to use that in this match. It was like, when's she going to use the Cobra? When's she going to use the Cobra? When's she going to use the Cobra? And finally she pulls out the Cobra. I didn't even know if she actually had the Cobra on her. Like, but she pulled it out at some point and, hey, here's the Cobra! And Cobra! And then she finished off with another maneuver. But yeah, cool to see her use the Cobra in a way, because like that's referencing again the story that we're on. And like I said before, I said, like, are you gonna have Santino face Stacks for the international title? I don't feel like you are, and I don't feel like you're gonna be like, oh well, even if he's gonna be around for a little bit longer or whatever it is, or even a long time, is he gonna win back the international championship, especially this soon? It's like, I don't know, maybe, but I don't really see it. Anyway, backstage, Rich Swann comes over to BDE and says, "Hey, let's have a bit of a game," and hands him a controller and says, "I'll whoop you in the game, boy." So feels like they're forming like a tag team of sorts, maybe. I would kind of like to see that. I kind of like to see these guys team, because again, they need more tag teams. They especially need more charismatic people in the division, or in their divisions at any rate. And BDE is like, what are you gonna do with him? Like, he's talented and all, but I feel like you need a long time of like months and months and months and months of like showcasing him in just, he can be, and you've already started that. You've already started to showcase he can hang with Nick Nemeth. He can hang with, AJ Francis. He can hang with EY. But you now need to say he can't just hang. He needs to be able to win, or he needs to be able to work and do things, not just be like, I'm here and I can have a good match. You need to be able to be like, okay, people can now start to buy into me and see that I can potentially do things, and I get a win here and I get a win there, and maybe I'm not going to be the guy or whatever, not yet at least, but like, I'm here and I'm going to earn my way. I'm not just gonna win the title or whatever else it is, or win a title or whatever else it is, just because I have, and I have a big social media following or whatever. But yeah, cool to kind of see in some ways. The Righteous versus the Hardys versus Order 4. Very interesting match here, because again, like, you had that question of, can the Hardys trust the Righteous or whatever. Throughout this match, that was like part of the story here. Now, I want to say before I get to too much, is saying that I think it was last night or last week. Yeah, this last week, the Hardys got pinned by the system. Well, specifically Bear Bronson. So they've lost to this, well, at least some part of the system. So that you'd think that the system would be looking for a tag team title shot at some point from the Hardys down the road as well. And tonight, well, Order 4 also beat the Hardys and the Righteous. So you would be thinking, same thing for them. They'd be looking for a tag team title shot down the road at some point. But, like, beyond that, this match was pretty decent, at least mostly, because mostly the Righteous took most of the match, I feel like, and the Hardys weren't doing too much. The things that they did, they were just in there for their few spots here and there and whatnot. So, and then to like sort of tease like tags with the Righteous and things like that, or whatever else it was, which is what I said they should do. They shouldn't be in there too long, or shouldn't do too much, because again, they can't do too much. So keep them limited and keep them to what they really can do. And then they started doing some really cool like tandem offense. The Hardys did the poetry in motion. Then the Righteous did the poetry in motion. The Righteous and the Hardys did the double twist of fate. Then the Righteous and the Hardys did a double swanton spot. So, like, all this synchronicity that they started to do later in the match was really cool. But unfortunately, they couldn't get the win after the powder got thrown into the eyes there, and unfortunately, I think it was Dutch who hit Jeff Hardy there with the I think it's the black hole slam, or a version of the black hole slam, which led to Order 4 being able to pick up the win. The big dives that Dutch and Agent Zero did to the outside were insane. They both did some insane dives. You know, and like I think before, like a few months ago, like Zero did a huge dive to the outside, and that was insane. Another huge dive here in this one. But yeah, the Order 4 was able to pick up the win. But at the end, Elijah came out with the guitar casket, or the guitar casket case came out, and Mustafa rushed the casket, seemingly trying to attack Elijah, but it wasn't Elijah who he attacked. It was somebody dressed up like Elijah, and Elijah came out of the casket and tried to put Ali in it, but Ali escaped and ran to the back. So it continues, and that's happening next week, the guitar casket match. And I was wondering why it isn't happening on pay-per-view, but they must have something else considered, like, for then. So wait and see. Backstage, Santino Marella is looking for answers at Ariana's door. Del Rey is not going to let him let his emotions get out of check. So yeah, we'll have to continue to tune in. Now the main event, and like this was a good match, really good match. Lot of bit of play around with some stuff here and there with like the trust issues and things like that, or whatever else it is. With like Nemeth and the system, and with like with Santana and Leon in some ways, that sort of thing. But like I said this before, it was a really weird situation where I felt like, and you felt like, oh man, here comes Nemeth. Finally, he's teasing. He's going to use his call your shot at some point during this match, and then it's like they never do anything again with it. And he didn't get to do it. It was like, oh, okay, cool. So maybe it'll happen later. Nope. Doesn't happen later. Nothing happens. So that's what I mean. Like, it's just, like, yes, Steve Macklin came back here and attacked Santana, but, like, at some point, you know, Santana should have came back, you know, and, whatever. Should have had, you know, to fight in the match, you know, and try to get it done. Then, like, the system's getting involved, then Moose comes out and you know, fends off the system and takes Eddie Edwards to the back, so it's down to Nick Nemeth and Leon Slater at the end. Very poignant to say, hey, you know, Leon's never beaten Nick Nemeth in, I don't think, any match, but let alone any one-on-one match or a one-on-one situation. I can't really remember many of the matches that they've actually had, but it was like I think it was very late last year or very early this last year, I would say, sorry, because we're in 2026 now. I keep forgetting. But yeah, like, yeah, so it was interesting. Very interesting, but like I felt like there wasn't enough of like the thing that people paid to see, which was, is Eddie or Nemeth or Leon gonna cash in? You felt like perhaps Leon's not gonna cash in. Okay, cool, great, that's fine. But you want to see it like every few minutes at some point. You want to see it like, I'm gonna cash in. No, I'm gonna cash in. No, I'm gonna cash in. You know, like at some points it does become like, oh, it's a bit much, but like that's what people pay to see. People pay to see, like, who's going to try to cash in? Are they going to cash in? Like, or whatever. And maybe, like, Macklin coming in at the end, like, maybe you shouldn't have had that, or maybe Macklin should have taken out Leon. I don't know. It was a nice way for Leon to get the big win finally over Nemeth in some ways, but again, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you should have had Leon go to the back and whatever, and then focus in on the world title picture. I don't know. So then, like, you have, like, effectively, like, whoever it is, you've got then Moose coming in and dealing with the system, whatever else it is, and then you have it down to Nemeth and Santana, and Santana's down. Maybe after, like, you could still bring Macklin in and have Macklin there, but have Santana be back in the ring, or even maybe have, like, Macklin try to feed him to the wolves, so to speak, or whatever else it is, that sort of thing, and then have Nemeth, try to call his shot, but then somehow, Santana is able to thwart it, or to able to win the match, or whatever else it is, because that's what the drama of the thing that you're trying to, that people pay to see. So it's not like people care. I think people slightly were losing interest, not because the match wasn't good, or not because they don't like Leon, or they don't like Nemeth, or they don't like Edwards, but it was like the main thing that they want to see, obviously, is with the world title. So it's like, if you've taken out the world champion and he's not there, it's like, well, who can cash in now? No one can cash in now. So it's like, that's what people want to see. They want to see if somebody's going to be able to cash in, and if they're able to cash in, who's going to win, how it's going to happen. But yeah, like, that's how the night closes, with Leon finally beating Nick Nemeth. And it is cool to see that Leon got this big main event and whatnot and all of that sort of stuff, and finally was able to beat Nick Nemeth in a way. But it's like, dude, like, that's not what people pay to see, And maybe, like, again, now I feel like, I said this before, I felt like the Macklin thing is a storyline. Now it's clearly a storyline. Clearly. Like, realistically, clearly it's a storyline. Or whatever. So I feel like the people who were, like, thinking that it's not, or whatever, like, I don't think that that's true. I mean, maybe it is somewhat true, or whatever else it is. But, like, they've obviously got a handshake agreement with Macklin to be like, no, we need you here. We need, like, maybe we'll have a secret contract or whatever else it is. I don't know. But, like, again, we need you to do this stuff, and we need to tell this story and to do this stuff. So that's what we're doing. So, yeah, like, that's where I'm at with this one. For now, because it is very much like, well, yeah, sure, like, that was a great match and whatnot and all of this stuff, like I said, with a couple of the other things there, in some ways, but it's like, so what? Because in some ways, this isn't what people pay to see. People pay to see is, and yes, Santana was obviously able to retain his title, but he should have been in the ring. He should have been the one in the ring defending the title, and then maybe, like, at some point, somehow, like, you had, like, that little bit of a stare down or whatever it was between Leon and Santana, like, post-match, like, he could call his shot, or even looking at the title or whatever, that sort of thing, I don't know. But yeah, like, I just felt like it didn't deliver on what it perhaps promised. And the promise was, hey, somebody's going to cash in, or something's going to happen with that. And again, when you have a main event without a world title match, it feels a little bit like lackluster. So that's why also I wanted to see, hey, let's see a friggin', not decision, but a actual world title match. Let's have somebody cash in or whatever, so that then we can be like, okay, cool, they've cashed in. But again, I can get why you might be like that. You might be like, oh, we want to keep it. We want to keep that threat around, or whatever else it is, for as long as possible. But at a certain point, you've just got to do it. Just got to pull the Band-Aid and do it. Maybe even next month. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, guys, for the most part, I was very enjoyed of the show for the most part. Um, and I'm interested to see where things are going. Um, now that we've kind of settled on like where like some of the things are at, because that does make a huge difference. So, because otherwise you feel like, where are we going? Why we go? All that sort of stuff. Because, yeah, it needs to be, certainly when especially when you've only built things up for like 2 weeks. It's like, oh, okay, or it feels like you've only built them up for 2 weeks or whatever. It feels like, oh man, well, and it's okay sometimes for some things to come out of nowhere, but it's like fans need to be able to be like, we could, if you were paying enough attention or if whatever, you could see this coming, sort of thing, in a way, so people want to know what to expect, in a sense. They do want to be surprised sometimes, but they want to know also what to expect, mostly. So, like, they certainly had a lot of, like, this was expected or whatever, and then they had some surprises. So, like, that is good, but it is, like, you need to build these things more quickly and more easily and have them more foreseen in advance. It was lucky that this show, like, it was a fairly small arena, I think, for the most part, so it was fairly easy to sell out, and they didn't really struggle all that much, so it didn't really hurt them too much, but it probably hurt their, like, pay-per-view or whatever streaming buys or their subscriptions this month. So, and I don't know why they let people have it for free, because it's like, that just costs you extra money. Really, you shouldn't say it's for free or whatever, in a way. But yeah, I don't know. It is tough because you do want to get people to tune in any way possible. So you offering it to them for free is like, well, that's a way to, drive up viewers and things like that as well. So, then there's not that, $10 price gap or whatever it is for people to. I think though, the major pay-per-views having it like 15% off or whatever else it is, or 20% off or whatever else it is, that's good. That's fine to be like, hey, we'll offer you 20% off or whatever else it is, or 30% off or whatever it is. That's great, because that makes people feel like, hey, I'm getting a bit of a deal or whatever else it is. That's cool. That's great. I can have this for another year or whatever else it is, or another month or whatever else it is. And tune into this show, which I didn't think I'd be able to. And that just helps people tune in. But yeah, certainly, like, sometimes it helps some people, absolutely, but it also helps too many people tune in for free. So just saying, hey, it's a discount or whatever, like, give them maybe a 40% discount or 45% discount if you're feeling really generous, instead of it is free. Because even 50% off is like way too much, but then again, it's only $10 or whatever it is, so it's like 40% is like a lot, really, when you're saying it's only $10 or whatever. So yeah, but just saying, oh yeah, you get like whatever 10% off or whatever, that would be better, rather than just saying it's free, whatever. But then again, like, I don't know if as many people would tune in, so it's tough to say. But anyway, that is pretty much it for this one. But if you've stuck around, you know my new tradition, or what is hopefully becoming my new tradition. Anyway, in this, or in these videos, or videos that I'm doing now, is to tell you, fuck ICE, and fuck Palestine, and all of that stuff. So free Palestine, free Israel is a genocidal maniac state, and fuck them. I think I accidentally said fuck Palestine, didn't I? Maybe I did. I don't know what I said there, bro. But, like, you know what I'm saying, bro. I say it all the time. Sometimes I muddle my words. But, yeah. No. I've seen so much silencing go on. I'm not for that. We're not for that here, and I don't care what side of politics you're on. I don't think you should be for that. And if we have to debate that killing kids is right or wrong, we're really in the wrong, I think. We've gone way too far. So, yeah. Spread the word. Resist the oppression that is going on out there. And try to stay safe. Try to keep yourselves mentally safe as well. I've been having a tough time, honestly, with my mental state as well with this stuff because it is very draining and I'm not even really involved. I am involved in some ways, but I guess by choice, but you can't be involved 24/7 because you need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to do all the things that you need to do. You need to take your self-care seriously and whatnot as well. So yeah, don't let these things, these doomsday things or the doom scrolling get the best of you as well. Try to find the positives in life. Try to enjoy the little things as much as what you can. But remember, we need to try to resist this atrocities and whatnot that are going on and resist being silenced. So, yeah. Keep the word going, guys. Hope you have enjoyed this one and hope you join me again in another one.